Hey everyone, welcome to my new speed painting video. It's a watercolor speed paint, and this one is for a painting called The Call of the Rainforest. So the whole concept came out as I was streaming on Twitch. I was taking ideas from people watching my stream, and one of the suggestions was a sloth. I had to draw a sloth, which I did. I've never drawn a sloth before, so that was fun, but I wanted to make it a bit more mine, a bit more quirky, and less like photo reference kind of sloth thing. And so I added the necklace and the neck of this woman, which I did without reference, by the way. So it's a mix of realistic and, I guess, imaginative surrealism, whatever you want to call it. So I did the background off camera. I was actually streaming when I did that, I think, pretty sure. Anyway, but I didn't record it, and so you saw me start on the skin and the shading of the skin. I did a very simple shading to start with, using my tan color, which was a mix of probably New Gamboge, yellow, and primary red magenta, and primary blue cyan. And for this one I really tried to work on the shading of the face. I gave her cheekbones, I gave her a good hint of a chin. I tend to paint my face with some shading, but they're always a bit quite flat, so for this one I was trying to get it probably more realistic. Anyway, moving on to the leaves, I'm mixing some turquoise and some Capri green, phthalo turquoise and Capri green, so it makes a very bluish green, which was good for a first layer. And I'm working wet on wet as usual, because I want a smooth layer to start with anyway. And yeah, I think the whole painting took about 12 to 15 hours, plus the sketching, which took about an hour, I would say. So yeah, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I really love the colors and the vibrancy of this one. A couple of months ago I was working on paintings which were a bit more subtle, and the color palettes were a bit more neutral, but I seem to have gone back to a lot of colors, and I'm feeling it swinging back to a more subtle and neutral again palette. I'm feeling those colors calling me again, so I'm always swinging back and forth between the two color palettes. I guess it might make it difficult for people to follow me, but I love both, and I can't really choose between both, and I try to match the best color palette to the intent of the painting. For this one it was always a rainforest, so there's a lot of vibrant greens and vibrant color flowers, colors, whatever. So it needed to be bright and cheerful, I guess. And also because the sloth has got very neutral colors. It's tan and brown and dark gray and black for the eyes. The eyes anyway. I felt that it needed some contrast with the woman in the background, and I think it works out in the end. I think it's quite a balanced painting. I really like the composition for this one. It's not centered, it's not full, the face, which was really pleasant to paint, because I didn't have to worry about eyes and shadows around the eyes and stuff like that. So it made it fairly easy to paint the face, and I could focus on the lips, and the lips where most of my work went for the face. So I'm working in a lot and lots of layers. I like to start very pale and build from there. I know some people like to put their shadows first, and it's always with watercolors. I'm talking about watercolors here. With watercolors I find it a bit scary. One of the reasons, there's two reasons. One is that some of my darker colors, like Payne's Gray, reactivate like mad. So if I've got to add something over it, it's going to move. And most watercolors will move if you work a lot over them. And I'm pretty sure I've got a second reason. And I can't quite remember what my second reason was. Yeah, I just find it, with watercolors, it's all about the light and the lightness for me. And I find starting with the what would be an underpainting in some ways with the shadows would make it a bit more difficult for me to judge the contrast. Whereas working from light to dark, I can actually build the contrast. I couldn't rectify the contrast if I were to start with the dark to start with. So now I'm working on the hair, on the sloth, and I really debated on how to paint the sloth, if I wanted to paint the hair or not paint it. You know, leave it very abstract or more realistic. And I decided to go for a more realistic way. Oh, and it just started to rain. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. And I'm quite happy I went for somewhere in between, somewhere that is between realistic and very illustrative. And I'm quite happy with the sloth. I was really scared of painting it. That's why it was the last thing I worked on, pretty much. And you know what I'm happy about is this branch thing loop around the necklace. I'm really happy with the shading of that at the end. It worked out pretty good. So we're pretty much done with the painting at this point. I think I'm gonna move to colored pencil very soon. Still a bit more shading around this branch. And yeah, I'm moving on to colored pencil. And here you could see me doing the highlight with my Sakura gel pen. It's my favorite gel pen. I've got both the Sakura Jelly Roll and Uniball Signo, and I prefer the Sakura. I find it works much better for me, especially on textured paper, like watercolor paper, which is what I'm using, even though this one doesn't have much texture. And I'm using some gouache to do the things in the flower, I don't know what it's called, where the pollen is attached. And I'm using white and a yellow ochre, and then I will come back with some colored pencil to add some more shading around them in the center of the flower, so that you can actually see them a bit better, to build a bit more contrast. I'm doing some lines on the lips and then highlight on the orchids and those tropical flowers. Those were pretty much from my imagination. I don't know what they would be close to. The pollen thing are quite similar to hibiscus, but they're not. It's just flowers that I would like in my garden if they existed. Maybe they exist, I'm not sure. So I'm using a combination of colored pencil for the center of the flowers, and I'm using Polychromos pencil by Faber-Castell. I love those pencils. They work very well for me. And I can't remember all the colors I've used. Here it's definitely a yellow. I think it's cadmium yellow light or something like that. For the leaves. So yeah, we're pretty much at the end, I'd say. So if you're interested in getting the original, it's in my shop. There will be a link in the description box below. Also I have prints and of different qualities. So I've got photo print, which are printed on matte photo paper, and art prints, which are printed on fine art paper and which will be hand embellished. So I will add details with my own little fingers before I send it over to you. And those one takes a bit longer to send over, so be patient if you decide to order one. yeah, thank you all for your support and the new subscribers. Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. It's really cool that you're enjoying my art enough to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed painting this little illustration. Let me know what you think, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye everyone.